Throughout school and education as a whole, we're always taught to learn these key skills, that whatever we choose to pursue will be so valuable to us later on in life. And in many cases, this is completely true. Key skills such as geography, a bit of science, a bit of maths, general people skills, English, that's all going to be handy to us later on in life, whether you believe it or not. And they will always be necessary and really, really good to have, in your back pocket. But if we're all going through the same sort of educational system and we're all taught the same skills, then what actually sets us apart from our personalities? Where I'm going with this is that you see the majority of society follow down a similar path. They go through the whole educational system, they choose whether to go to uni or not, get a minimum wage job, climb the ladder, achieve a managerial position at the age of 50, 55, retire at 67, so on and so forth. And I have a theory that the path we go down is heavily influenced by the skill sets we are taught. And the skill set that we're taught as developing human beings, because those outliers, those very successful people, have very different skill sets to the majority of society. And these aren't skills that they're just naturally gifted with, these are skills that they develop and work on and grow themselves. Now, I read a lot of non-fiction books in the sense of self-development, self-growth, finance, entrepreneurials, autobiographies and stuff like that. And I've noticed an absolute plethora of skills among these kind of people that you just don't see in everyday life. And I think these skills are things that everyone can learn, but they choose not to learn as it's not their priority. And like I said, these aren't skills such as being really good at maths or running a certain speed. These are skills that everyone has. They just choose whether to develop it or not. And these are skills that I feel lead to success. And so I'm going to explain to you these 8 skills that I've rounded up and pinpointed that I'm working on myself. And I'm going to explain to you how they can be so beneficial to you. And thank you to the sponsor of this video, Profile Books, but more on that later. So getting started is basic people skills or communication skills. But what are people skills? These soft skills are the ones that are most sought after in the business world. They are stuff like self-awareness, the ability to listen, empathy, communication, both written and oral, trust, emotional regulation. Many of these skills are interrelated. For example, you have to be able to truly listen to someone in order to empathize with him or her. And if you can communicate well, you'll be better able to build trust. But I'm not talking about in the business world specifically, I'm talking about polishing these skills. Understanding people is such an incredibly underrated skill to perfect, and it doesn't make sense to me anyways why it is so underrated. Developing the skills for empathy, reliability, and understanding people in a way that enables you to have control over them is so powerful and can be used to your advantage in so many situations. And I'm not talking about manipulation, although I will go into that more later, but the art of listening to someone and then responding in a way that ticks all their neurological boxes and gets them to feel a certain way, that way being how you want them to feel, is extremely, extremely powerful. Think about it, right? At the end of the day, every single thing in this world is controlled by human beings. And if you can understand and control a certain aspect of human beings, you have control. And how can you learn about these specific people skills? Well, it all comes from experience, like learning about people, meeting different people. And a fantastic way to do it is learn more about human nature and psychology, which moves nicely onto my next skill. Skill number 2 is mastering the art of human nature, or human psychology, if you like. Understanding the art of human psychology is much deeper than communication skills, because with human nature, you can tell the intention of people without even speaking a word to them. The skill of human nature is everything from understanding body language to speech, to thinking patterns, reactions to specific situations. Understanding why humans do things that they do enables you to predict the outcomes. Understanding how the mind works, from memory to instincts. As you can imagine, it's a complete rabbit hole of information. And the reason to learn this skill is similar to the last skill, because if you understand people to the T, then you are in control of those people. The books I recommend, or should I say an author that I recommend, is a man known as Robert Greene. And if you've come from my TikTok, then you know what I'm talking about, the 48 Laws of Power. But 48 Laws of Power isn't the only book that he's made. He goes very, very deep into human psychology and the different aspects of it. He's written books like The Art of Seduction, The 33 Strategies of War, Mastery. And his brand new book that he came out just over a week ago is called The Daily Laws. And this book has every book that he's written combined into one. Now, these books don't teach you the science behind human psychology, but they basically give you real world examples of why humans do things they do. And the Daily Laws has over 366 meditations, or examples, or lessons if you like, and they're each correlated to a date. So I can pick a specific date in this book, such as July the 16th, and then read out the meditation that's correlated to that date. And the idea is to read this book, one meditation every single day, and then you'll become the all-wise, the all-knowledgeable. In a more unethical tone, these books also teach you a lot about human manipulation. So you can either use this to your advantage or use it to be aware of other people manipulating you. It explains how to take advantage of these human instincts that we all have and how to use them to get what you want. Now, pick a career choice, any single career choice, and if it involves working with humans, then you have no excuse not to learn this skill, as it will benefit you. Now, the third skill, which isn't so in-depth, is public speaking. And let me explain why public speaking can be so powerful. The power to have a message, a strong message, and to preach that message in front of a bunch of other judgmental human beings is extremely underlooked. And I'm not saying you have to stand on a box in the middle of town with a massive crowd around you in order to master public speaking. It can be used in many different contexts, whether that be to deliver a presentation for a business, or to preach a message on stage, or to speak to a number of people and portray an influence and motivate some sort of change. The skill of public speaking, I would say, is broken down into confidence, critical thinking, and leadership. That is leadership to be in control of the situation, critical thinking to adapt to the things around you, and confidence to be able to speak a message with your chest in front of a bunch of people. All the successful people and all these unique people have the skill of public speaking, whether it's to the press, to the news, to their followers, to their audience. They motivate a change, and it's a hard skill to be able to master. And I feel like public speaking is a very hard skill to practice or master, as speaking into your mirror and practicing public speaking isn't the same as doing it on a stage or in front of a bunch of people when there's adrenaline and emotions rushing through your body. I assume it's very, very different. But instead of learning public speaking as a whole, you can learn separate things like critical thinking, confidence, and leadership separately. And moving on to the fourth skill. The fourth skill is self-drive, or self-confidence, or self-motivation. And this is a very, very big one, a very important one. The skill, the power, the art of self-drive. And I always use this analogy to explain why. There's this woman called Katie Hopkins, and she's probably one of the most hated people in the UK alone, just because of what she says.
People have different metabolisms, that's what I'm saying.
Well, if your metabolism is really slow, then maybe you need to shove less in this end so that you don't get fat.
Do you not realise where you're going with this?
How did you get this big?
This is actually to do with a hate crime.
Okay,
and
you're a victim of hate crime.
Absolutely.
In
and can we call the police?
There more people.
Would you like to bring the police in?
There's a telephone right there.
I think we should.
Would you like it brought to you? Because it's probably going to be hard to
no,
walk there.
just don't say I'm fat because, you know, it's just my metabolism. No, love. You're fat because you eat too much. Go get yourself a dairy milk. So you're finding me funny. This is the message I'm getting.
Peaches Geldof is to me what salt is to a wound. She is everything that's bitter and twisted in this world.
As you can see, she's pretty horrific. But regardless, she has the best drive and the best self-motivation I have ever seen. She has the skill of saying all these horrible things, and regardless of the backlash she gets, she continues to do it. Why? Because she believes in what she's doing. Whether she's right or wrong, she has such good motivation to keep on preaching and doing what she wants, because after blocking out all the noise, she either likes what she's doing or believes in it, and therefore it's the most important thing to her. And I'm not saying to become like her, but definitely take a small aspect of her self-drive and implement it into your own life. Because like in the book Think and Grow Rich, which if you haven't read, I really recommend, by the way, if you believe, you shall achieve. And all these incredible people on our planet, or even half incredible people, have been shut down countless times, and they have had their ideas crushed left, right, and center, I'm sure. But they still achieve what they planned out to, because they have a lot of self-drive, which is a skill on its own. And like the cliche saying goes, you can be whatever you want to be. Realistically, you could be 55, unemployed, had a family to care for, and you could want to be a doctor, and you could do it. It would take a lot of sacrifice and a lot of long days, but you could retake courses, you could get a degree and become a doctor. It's a bad analogy, but I hope you know what I mean. It's like the analogy of Colonel Sanders, how he started his business at like 60 something, just as he was about to retire, and he created a multi-billion-dollar business. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. And now the fifth skill that is at the top of my priority list as one to master is the skill of sales. And let me explain why. Now, I know you hear the word sales and you think of this guy, someone in a baggy suit, trying to sell you an overpriced car and just being an absolute vulture and, you know, psychologically taking money out of people's pockets. But you're a salesman. In reality, sales is an important part of our lives, and we all sell every single day without even realizing it. If you've ever told your friend to come and watch a particular movie or buy a game you're playing, you sell it to them, and you become the best salesman ever because you really want to sell it to them. Have you ever asked your parents to go out or for money? Then you're selling them on the idea of why they should let you do that and the benefit that's in it for them. Whether that be not having to cook for you, not having to take care of you, you getting out of their hair. Have you ever tried to get your friends to go out to the pub with you, to the park? Then you're selling them on the emotion that they'll feel once they go out with you. See, everyone sells it, whether it be a physical product or an event or an emotion. You just don't really realize it, and you don't realize that you are your own best salesman. But what if you were to perfect this everyday activity? You were to become so good at selling things that it's just second nature to you. And you could sell anything you want with ease, whether that be, like I said before, a product, an opportunity, an idea, a favor. It's a complete rabbit hole. And sales fits very, very well within human nature and psychology, and it's most definitely something that you can master and implement whatever you want to do in your career or in your life choices. Because with sales, you'll always end up with your way and yourself being on top. Now, moving on to skill 6. Skill 6 is something that we all have, but just used to such a poor extent, and that is our risk tolerance. A risk tolerance is how much we can put something on the line in result for our desired reward. And this isn't just like for investing, like how much are you willing to risk, how much are you willing to invest in cryptocurrency for a really good return. This is our risk tolerance towards our life choices. I recently listened to a School of Greatness podcast where Dr. Phil was interviewed. And if you don't know who Dr. Phil is, then get out from underneath that rock. He's basically a psychologist, well, a doctor in clinical psychology, and he interviews everyone from your average Joe to children that murder their parents to try and understand more about what's going on inside their head. And therefore, he meets a lot of people and hears a lot of stories. Lewis, the podcast host, asked one of his common questions, which was, what do you think is stopping people from achieving greatness? And Dr. Phil replied with comfort zone. People are scared to emerge from their comfort zone. In other words, take risk outside what they are comfortable with. You see, the great people in our world either have a really high risk tolerance or have a low one and choose to ignore it. If you lived your life stuck inside what you're comfortable with, then you'll just go down the same path that ensures safety and balance. And as human beings, as cavemen, that is what we really need. That is what we attract: safety, balance, and consistency. But if you continue down that path, then you're just like everyone else, because nothing sets you apart. You just want security like everybody else instead of success. And this applies to you especially if you are young. Like Gary Vee said, you can piss about and do absolutely nothing with your life until you are 30 and then decide to make a change and create something incredible, start a business, and you're still considered very, very young. So why not take the risk when you're young? What's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna have to start again where you were 5 years down the line with much, much more knowledge and experience than you had before. And I assume risk tolerance is quite a hard skill to learn, but I feel like it's mostly mindset. As long as you have a strong mindset, I'm sure you'll be fine. And moving on to skill 7. Skill 7 is the skill of adaptability. Newsflash, the world is changing, and like the survival of the fittest, you have to adapt in order to survive, or in this case, succeed. Whether it's adapting to the new market for your business, or changing your career for what is up and coming, or even adapting your skill set for what is assumed to grow over the next couple of years, the world to this current date is changing every single day more than it ever has before. From discovering new species to inventing new technology that just doesn't even make sense to the human brain and we can't even compute it. Everything is changing or evolving, however you would like to put it. And why is adaptability so important? Just as an example, the iPhone is the most popular phone in the world because it has to adapt to the new technology every single year and adapt to people's wants. They want a completely glass screen instead of a button at the bottom. They adapt to it. Tesla has to adapt to the new car market and adapt to fit to people's and fulfills people's needs. Amazon has to adapt new products consistently with new products to align to the market. These are just a few examples of the biggest companies, but there's a reason that they are the biggest companies. This can also be adapting to your new job role, or for even example, adapting to the new politically correct terms to address people to attract a wider customer base. You name it, you get the point. What I like to say is that if you're not one step ahead of the world evolving, then you're just being dragged behind with billions of other people. And skill 8, last but not least, the skill of controlling power. Well, this entire skill I actually learned from one book. Well, a few books, but this is why I feel like controlling power is one of the best skills to possibly ever learn. Controlling power is to control a situation, and if you can control a situation, you can control people. And this is where the sponsor of the video comes in. The sponsor, Profile Books, are actually the ones that publish Robert Greene's books to the UK, and this is a sponsor that I'm very, very thankful of having. And why the skill of controlling power is so high is because you have to control every other skill first. You have to control human nature, adaptation, human psychology, sales, people skills, all of them combined to have the power to control power. And I can only summarize the controlling of power with one book, and that is this bad boy. Now, I've been reading this book every single day since I got it, and it has changed my mindset so much in a positive way. You can either take this book and take the manipulation tactics that you learn and try to manipulate others, or you use them to defend yourself in a way and become aware of what other people are doing. And that's the way that I'm treating this book. And I'll read you out a few days just as an example. Let's go to July the 7th. Appear to be an object of desire. Few are drawn to the person whom others avoid or neglect. People gather those around who have already attracted interest. We want what other people want. To draw your victims closer and make them hungry to possess you, you must create an aura of desirability, of being wanted and courted by many. It will become a point of vanity for them to be the preferred object of your attention. To win you away from a crowd of admirers, manufacture the illusion of popularity by surrounding yourself with members of the opposite sex. Friends, former lovers, create triangles that stimulate rivalry and raise your value. This point alone, you shouldn't really be learning. What it's saying is that if you really want someone or something, you have to make them aware that other people want you. And there is 366 of these. One for every day. And yes, this video is sponsored, but it's probably a long time overdue as I've been talking about Robert Greene and his books for probably a couple months now. And so that is the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and you're taking on board these 8 skills that I feel like you should learn to really lead you to success. As I only do these videos and read out these skills because they are something that I'm implementing into my own life, and I want to share my journey in a sense and share what I'm learning to other people a similar age to me or have a similar mindset to me. But let me know if you enjoyed this video and you want more, or if you want more financial content, let me know in the comments below. And if you've got any questions, hit up my Instagram. There'll be a link down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.